Welcome to the RTS podcast. The RTS podcast brings stories of values, faith, culture, and entrepreneurship to inspire action and create a lasting impact. In this episode, we welcome Steve Misa, a passionate connector, business development leader, and a former professional rugby player. Steve's journey from the rugby field to empowering businesses showcases the importance of leadership, integrity, and fostering growth. Together, we'll explore how he bridges his heritage, experiences, and skills to make a difference. Steve, welcome to the RTS podcast. How are you today, bro?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. It's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Steve has got some news. He's a new father, so we'd just like to congratulate you as being a new father, bro,
Thank
and
you.
welcome to fatherhood. I thought I would acknowledge that, bro, but yeah, I guess being a new father, lack of sleep at the moment, but really appreciate your time here today, bro. And we'll see what we can get out of it. But just right off the bat, bro, how are you? How's your role and what you're doing? And yeah, where are you at the moment?
Yeah. Oh, bro. It's been a good year.
Yeah,
With everything shifting and all of that. But I always believe in it's how I um look at it. It's how my mindset
mm,
is. So yeah. Overall, it's been pretty good. For me. Exciting. Learning new stuff. So
let's go, bro.
yeah.
I always whenever I catch you or see you around in your company vehicle, I'm like, you're always on the go, eh?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've always known that about you being always on the go. But bro, just for our viewers and listeners here, could you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your upbringing and to where you are today? What? Yeah.
Yeah. So born in Tonga. And then I moved to New Zealand about 2006. I c My background, my uncles, my dad, rugby. So, it was pretty much rugby, and I think All Blacks at the time was the team that you wanna be. So, when I got the chance to move to New Zealand, the goal was to be an All
Mm,
Blacks. Funny enough, we went straight to Christchurch. So, go from Tonga, being warm,
yeah. Cool.
straight to Christchurch
Yeah.
in the cold.
Yeah.
Didn't really think about it until you walk out of the airport, and then it's like, ah,
Yeah.
where well, what's this? This is New Zealand.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was it. And then
How old were you when you moved?
about 12,
Yeah.
12, 13.
Good.
The oldest of five,
Wow.
so four boys, and then one girl, the youngest.
That's a big move.
Yeah. So definitely I was I guess doing a lot of the jump in and find out, and then my siblings will follow through.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you guys all moved over at the same time?
yeah, we all moved over. Dad came first,
Yeah.
worked, and then and got our, I guess, permanent.
Yeah.
Um, and then he came back to Tonga and brought us over.
Do
So
you have family in Christchurch? Or?
yeah, my uncle was here. Well, he studied at Lincoln University.
Oh, that was good.
And then he pretty much that was, I guess, more better support having family members here.
That's often the story for a lot of our ainga and abroad that make the choice to come over from Samoa ever since the 50s and 60s are, and it must be a big change for you guys culturally and the culture shift, especially going to Christchurch. What was that like for all of you guys as a cultural shift?
Yeah, definitely. Leaving home
Yeah,
is definitely something that leaving the family behind
mm,
and the culture and your childhood. But back then, it was New Zealand was, I guess, pictured as the place for, I guess, dream. You
is it?
go there, make money,
Yeah,
look after the family back in Tonga. So yeah, definitely that's one, I guess, why we were happy to move over here was the opportunity. Having the opportunity to play sports or work. A lot of my uncles would come over and picking the fruits. So
I see where.
they'll come back and they've managed to save a bit of money to buy a ute
Yeah,
just to go to the bush. So we were like, oh, they come here for a couple of months, come back with a lot of money. So that was good. And then being in Christchurch, it was definitely, to be honest, very mainstream.
mm.
Um,
There's a good PTSD stuff, right?
yeah. um, so coming straight from Tonga into Christchurch, obviously English was something I had to learn. My mum was trying to teach us boys in Tonga, but being in Tonga, at that time, English was kind of like, if you speak it, people will be like, oh, you're
Changes.
want to be,
Yeah.
Balangi, yeah.
Yeah.
So we didn't really think of it
Yeah.
until we landed here.
Well, you didn't need to use it as much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we spent, I think, first year or two at primary school just doing drawing, coloring, because the teacher couldn't communicate with us.
Oh.
So that's when we realized, and
They had no like ESOL program for you guys, but
nah,
you have a question?
yeah. So we spent just drawing, coloring,
Oh.
and then
Easy.
yeah, then we really, my mom, said this is why so we started learning heaps, for mom because she could speak fluent,
Yeah.
and then yeah, kind of went from there. So yeah, little bit of story, memory lane.
So your schooling was all in Christchurch?
Yes, so Christchurch East, primary, intermediate, and then straight to Christchurch Boys
Well, that's a
High School. So my dad being the rugby,
Yeah.
wanted the rugby school.
Yeah.
So Christchurch Boys was obviously All Blacks, factory.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why me and my brothers ended up there just purely because of rugby.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so good. Who was your era during Approach 15 and
Yeah, it was so Anton.
oh yeah.
Anton was a year older. I think a few of the other boys, Alex Nankerville was a year younger. My first year at high school was Brody Vitalik's last year. So yeah, oh man, literally, when I year 9, you see this guy just running up and down the on the field,
Yeah.
and then I'm like, oh, what's that guy doing? It's not even rugby season yet, and he's already out there running. And then yeah, years later, yeah, one of the best locks in the world. So I'm like, oh, that's why he was running.
That's so good, bro. And so I guess rugby was kind of like your common ground with probably a lot of your peers and probably and it did pave a way for you to actually really excel. What was that like going through first 15 and then moving on towards club and stuff? Like as rugby, what has rugby done for you?
Yeah, r- I I give so much to rugby.
Yeah.
I think growing up in Tonga, that was just one thing I wanted to do, play rugby. And to be in New Zealand, and when we first started, my dad wanted me and my brothers to learn how to tackle. So we were put in league. And being in league, I was playing in the higher or older grade.
Yeah, all the case.
So you get these big guys running. So there's only one way to do it and take their legs. So that's where I had to learn how to tackle. 2 years I spent in league, and then when we went to high school, that's when I started union. So yeah, fast forward, I was well, one of the youngest, first 15, at I was year 11.
Year 11, yeah.
So when we finished, we won the 2010 under 15 national.
Oh wow.
And then I got selected for trial for the first 15, and blessed to make the team. And that was kind of like the All Blacks feeling, or you achieve something. You walk down the hall at school, and all the boys are like, "Bro, you made it! You made it!" And I'm like, "Made what?"
How many year 11s was it? They made it.
It's only me, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
A bag of the book.
Yeah, it was only, so that's why it was kind of like it showed me a taste
Yeah.
of what rugby can, even though I had passion for it left, right, and center. Yeah, so that, and then spent 3 years in first 15. Had some good memories. Oh, I think one thing I could touch on is throughout my whole school and first 15, I think being, this, you'll make first 15, and you're doing well and you're playing well and everything. It's so easy to get sidetracked into party and, the girls and all of that. I think one thing I'm grateful for is my parents, especially my dad.
Yeah.
My dad was always like, yeah, he's like, oh, you got to recover. You got to Bible study on Saturday afternoon. So after we play, on Saturday
No,
mornings. No, eventually, yeah. All the boys would turn up on Monday. All the boys would be talking about their party, and then I'm like, "Oh, what you get up to?" "Oh, I went Bible study." So when I look back at it, I think if I didn't do that, or if my parents didn't keep me in check, I'd probably be already going down a different road, because being exposed to, alcohol and and girls, and I see it now, as I'm older, it's so easy to get stuck into that space. So I think I'm grateful for my parents, that they guide me the other way,
yeah,
not that.
yeah, and especially at the age, like you're a young man
Yep.
coming into finding yourself. There's a hype around the rugby culture, and sadly, like, um, rugby has a negative aspects around alcohol and partying, and on the other end, there are some good rugby cultures where it's real family orientated, but it's quite easy to derail yourself, your path and journey, and um, sometimes that may lead to the end of your rugby career, bro. And so after school, when was the first time you made reps? Or was it during Christine, or was it after?
Oh, I pretty much did all the rep
Yeah,
for Canterbury.
yeah,
So I think it was under 15, I think,
yeah.
was when I started, and then I went through. So
Crusaders.
pretty much, yeah,
Yeah.
I did school, and then I made rep. So everything was kind of going back and forward. I was doing pretty well. And then it wasn't until the end of the year where I didn't get an opportunity with the Crusaders.
Yeah.
But
Oh, you're 13.
yeah,
Oh, yeah. Well, who was it? Well, was it pretty much Alistair at the time? Who was that era? Who was the other hooker?
it was St. Bede's hooker. I forgot his name. He was the one that so he made New
Academy.
Zealand schools,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that whole thing. So kind of my my rugby journey here went up, and then it
Yeah, that would have
kind of
dented your ego, bro.
oh
What did your dad say? What did your
oh bro, to be honest, my dad was gutted.
Yeah.
He was kind of like, oh, the classic, parents are, you know
Should have been you.
work hard, you got to work hard and
Yeah.
all of that. And I'm like, bro, I know the work that I put
Yeah,
in.
yeah, yeah.
So that was kind of, everything was silent. And then Waikato watched my first 15 game on, it used to be Sky Sport back
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
and we will play our, I think it's always a yearly game against Christ College.
Oh, that's a big
Yeah,
was
it's
that
a
what D-Mac? You play against D-Mac?
yeah, so DMAC was on there, so we'll go, against each other. Yeah, that guy's a
That
freak,
was a
man.
massive highlight reel game, that game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
we would play, and I think we were on the streak of maybe 12 games.
yeah.
We've been, winning, so we wanted to keep that going, but in that game, Waikato watched the game, and I happened to, get play of the match, in that game. It was hailing
Yeah, yeah,
in that
Fourth
thing.
game,
So
man.
4-10, so it worked for me. I love pick and goes, and so they gave me a call and said, "Would you be keen to move up?" Now, after the earthquake, my mum left Christchurch because her job relocated to Rotorua and then Tauranga after. So my mum was already up here
Oh,
in 2013.
yeah,
So for me, it was like, oh, why not?
yeah.
Come up here. I watched the Chiefs at that time. I think the Chiefs were
Chiefs.
going back to back to
Yeah.
back or something like that.
Danny Bull era.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Ben Tamifuna and all of the boys. So I thought, okay, go to the Chiefs mana system. So yeah, came up in that time. It was Anton was already up. Damien, we came up. So a lot of the
Brown.
boys, yeah, a lot of
Oh,
boys came out of there. And yeah, so that's in 2014. I started my journey in the Tron with
yeah,
Waikato.
yeah.
And then uh, Academy 2014, New Zealand 20s 2015, and 2016. The end of 2016, I had my first MPC.
Wow.
Yeah, so so I was, I
You
think
like that
that,
a while.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it dented, back at school, my ego, my passion, my goal, and everything. But for me, it was always keep going. You know, it was always like, okay, there's nothing else you can do about it. You just gotta
Yeah.
get back on the horse. So, you know, being in Waikato, I was like, okay, what's the next goal? New Zealand's under 20. So that was on my mind. And then yeah, we went over to Italy
Yeah.
and won the New Zealand was it New Zealand under 20 rugby award. Yeah. And then
Razor.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So
Razor.
Razor was yeah, so that and then I came back, but during the I guess 2014 I had a shoulder injury from high school.
Yeah.
So I was year
Go to
9.
the car,
Yeah, so it keeps
popping out.
yeah. So when I was year
You
9,
still a tackle with that shoulder, eh?
oh bro, the amount of strapping that I had was like it looked like I had a yeah, I had one shoulder bigger than the other shoulder. So I was in year 9. I tried to tackle one of the biggest year 13 um in the school, but I normally tackle around the legs, so I decided to go for his hips, and he stepped out, so I decided to reach, and he ran right through my shoulder. So from I think it was at year 9 all the way to year 13, I just had a
Weak shoulder.
yeah, weak shoulder. So I played, and it wasn't until in NZ20s that they said, "Oh, you got to do surgery, or else you can't." Because every time I'll play after the game, I can't lift my hand up. So they said you got to have
Especially when you're throwing
operation.
the ball.
Or literally, yeah. So New Zealand 20s, after a game, I'll jump on the ice pack to recover from the next game. So I was just doing that. No, yeah, yeah. So I'll sleep with the icing machine just because my shoulder needs to recover for the next game. So when I came back, went for my first op, and then that set me out for 8 months.
Oh, that's why there was a bit of delay from you playing UBC.
Yeah, so then I kind of came off that, and then the 2016, and then to the end of 2017, yeah, I went for my second operation.
Oh, wow.
So same shoulder. Yeah, so I busted it again. So yeah, it definitely in that period after New Zealand 20s, I just made some wrong choices, not looking after myself. Was eager to play, so I'll do anything to play, even if body's not right. I just wanted to play because I wanted to get looked at. I wanted to keep that momentum going. Yeah.
So, you think looking back now, like that affected the longevity of your career?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I think one thing that got me really good is concussion. So I would have concussion during my journey, but I had this old mindset where you'll be fine.
Mm,
Just keep going. Um, concussion is not a thing.
yeah.
So yeah, I kept going until my last one. I think what 2 years ago.
Oh,
That one set me back right back. So I had to go through. I recently just got out of rehab for it. Yeah, so that one kind of scared me because it was something that I wasn't used to. Where I
it's
had
not.
my
I can't see
shoulders,
it.
yeah,
I can't see
I
it.
had my shoulders. So I think, but with my head, I couldn't control my brain. Like sometime I'll wake up in the morning at 8. By 9, I feel like I stayed up for a couple of days. So then that was kind of like a check for me, was maybe it is important,
Yeah.
the head.
You still get like after effects from
Yeah,
feel like
so I still struggle. Some days are good days, and then some days I have. But definitely taught me to listen to myself.
yeah.
When it needs rest, don't push.
Mm.
Um,
What are your symptoms like? Blurry vision, or was it like
yeah. So tiredness.
yeah, tiredness?
Sometimes I get tired in the head.
Yeah,
Um,
mental tiredness.
yeah.
Yeah,
Fatigue. And then some days I'm good.
yeah,
Also the lights.
yeah.
Yeah.
Lights.
So I've gone through a journey where I think I spent 4 or 5 months at home with all the curtains closed because I couldn't bear the lights. I couldn't walk around outside. Yeah, so dark was the peace. And then yeah, that kind of yeah, it didn't help because I was missing rugby. I was on the
Isolated as well.
yeah, I was on the edge of is my dream, feeling like my dream's kind of falling out of my hand, like I couldn't grip it. So yeah, Oh, it was definitely a teaching moment for me in that.
I guess that's the beauty of rugby as like a former, um, up and coming rugby player. I play socially. I also have had a concussion too. I know what you mean around that was probably I've like dislocated both my knees, broke my leg, but I always say then my concussion was the worst injury because when you're sitting in the room and you can't even open your eyes,
Yeah.
um, and you're having to sleep every day, it does something to your head and your just well being. And so I think it's really important for rugby players. And it's good that now the sport in general is looking after people's with the HIA protocols and whatnot. But yeah, you know, it's the you got to look after your brains. And I just wanted to touch on how rugby in your journey was able to teach you about resilience, like the fact that you were able to persevere with that. Um, when you got jobbed from the Crusaders, and then you were really able to excel and into higher honors at Waikato. Um, Coming towards the end of the career, did you have to hone into some of that resilience and all those things that you learned in rugby to help you transition out of your career? What was that like? What's it been like for you as you transition, as you've been able to transition? And obviously, it would have been a challenging journey for you.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely rugby taught me a lot.
Mm,
And I take that into what I'm currently doing at the moment. So I always advise a lot of people to take on some sort of sports,
yeah.
because what sports teaches us, you can use in everything else. In terms of, I guess the failure that I had, and then I'll sit down and be like, okay, what's next?
Mm,
Okay, how do I get there? So it definitely taught me, I think, also how to be how to take feedback
yeah.
and then go and work on. I think that's been a big, a huge one for rugby, because when you play, you're on TV, and then when you do review, you're on the big screen, so everyone can see it. So being able to take feedback and then hit the training ground and practice was definitely something that rugby taught me. So when I'm in business, you know, I'm open for feedback. I'm open to taking ownership. I'm open to bounce back. So this year has been tough, but bro, I'm just going. I'm like,
Yeah.
there is something there. You just got to keep going. So preseason, I put it into preseason. So right now,
One
it's kind
reason,
of,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's kind of like no one likes preseason.
yeah.
Um, there's only one way to get out of it, and that's to finish preseason
Do the work.
or like an injury, and then all the boys all all the boys
Sound
all
out,
yeah.
right?
No, literally. So right now is preseason, so I do a lot of, I guess, how I operate in business. I bring a lot of my rugby, um, being able to mentally
Yeah.
keep going. I think when we always talk about the 80-minute or 90-minute,
I mean,
team.
yeah, yeah.
I'm operating like that
It's so good.
in business. So yeah, definitely anything, whether you're running, I think I did a few half marathons. When you're in halfway or probably near that finish line, you get that voice in your head start playing with you. So when you cross over the finish line, you look back and you're like, wasn't really that bad.
Yeah,
So then I just take that into business. Right now we're struggling, or when you cross over that other side and you see the sun comes up,
man.
then you look back and you're like, oh, wasn't really that bad. During it, it's a real test, because whether you can control your mindset is the big question.
Yesterday, like what I've learned in my journey in business and being 7 weeks of full time, it's really tested my mental toughness. I think I pay homage to my rugby career and my distant I have going through the system that you learn to, like you said, learn to take on feedback. I always found that quite difficult, take on feedback, and I would listen to the feedback, but I always shy away from like that one-on-one discussion you have with a coach. But how did you teach yourself how to take on that feedback? But was it earlier in your first 15 years? Because I found that I struggled with that. How did you learn to take on feedback? Because there's a Pacific person, right? You just listen and nod. But you, yeah. Well, how did you learn that?
I definitely, it was in high school that I learned to take feedback. It was my dad. So I had a head start
Yeah.
to, into rugby. So as normal Pacific Islander parents,
Yeah.
dad, the feedback is not the most,
Yeah.
sugar coated.
Yeah.
It's just straight down the barrel. So it kind of made me thick skin. And when I came into, I guess, professional, semi pro, I was already used to, um, feedback.
Mm.
So yeah, that's, give it to my dad. Yeah, because
Shout out to your dad.
I'll have a mean ass game. Everyone's like, "Oh, bro, you played really well," and all of that. Then I walk over to my dad. "Oh, no good. Well, you did that right. You need to do more running." And I was like, I felt like I was everywhere. And then you watch the game, and I was moving and everything. But for him, it was like, "Nah, we need to be better." So it definitely, uh, he gave me humble pies every day.
Humble pie.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it's funny, and often what I've learned is now being a parent too. It's sometimes those moments where our parents or our family can be the harshest critics because they want more from you, and I think uh, um you learn that as you get older. Eh?
yeah.
You learn the lesson. Oh, that's why dad said that. Oh, that's why this happened, and that's awesome, bro. Hey, I just wanted to come back to your faith and your values, and I wanted to ask, how has your faith been able to shape and influence how you go about your journey and your work? What's that been like for you growing up?
Yeah, my faith has been, I guess, number one in, growing up. Uh, mom and dad. Mom was Mormon.
Yep.
Dad was, Wesleyan. So I was always, going back and forward. I'm surrounded by, family members that are really strong in church. So faith, it was planted in me at a young age, pretty much, growing up. And then so I got taught that everything, was from God,
Yeah.
and, to let him lead. So through my whole journey, it was just pretty much, some days I struggle, some days I'll play bad. It's always give back to him. And then my victories will give back to him. But I think the biggest was how I find the strength to be able to bounce back was I give to my faith. So my surgeries, I was like, okay, cool, I'll come back. And then I had another operation, and I was like, oh, I'll come back. So my faith definitely was compass, because that's the reason why I keep bouncing back,
Yeah. Yeah.
and not, lose hope. So yeah, definitely my faith, guided me my whole journey, and until now I'm still, running on faith. I tie it to everything I do, because without it, um, I believe that we can't do it on our own. And you need to have some sort of faith, hope, um, to get you through tough time, and to also, celebrate the good time as well. Yeah. So
Awesome, bro. I feel like as you're speaking, like um, throughout your journey, it's always been about setting those foundations, and your parents being one of those ones that been able to set you up for what life throws at you. And I wanted to touch on, as someone that's finishing up the career, and we know a lot of the boys too that are still jamming as well.
yeah,
But there's some of the boys that are finishing their careers and um, kind of re-entering, into the labor market.
yeah,
And so, um, what has like what has that been for you and your some of the boys' journeys? And what has been some advice that you've been able to give as someone that has gone through that and entering, being leaving rugby?
yeah. I definitely advise a lot of, the boys now to, get out there and do other things, not just rugby. We get told plan B, have a plan B. But really, I think some of us are too focused and too, I guess, committed to rugby that we don't want to do anything else.
Yeah.
And I understand that, because we get told by our business, or by our player development person who go and do something else. They'll bring in seminars, all of that stuff, because you all you want to do is make the team for that weekend. You want to look at Super Rugby, or look at overseas or All Blacks. You're too stuck in that space. The thing that I've been lucky enough to do was I forced myself to go and work for different companies.
Oh wow.
So I'll trial different companies, building,
Yeah.
uh, civil,
Yeah.
design.
Oh, you were playing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'd go for a day. So we get a day off.
Yeah.
I'll go on the off season when we
So
go on the break. I'll go and work. So
oh
how I did that was through Alliance
yeah,
Recruitment.
yeah.
So I'll just ring them and go, "Do you have jobs?" And go, "Yeah, we have these jobs." And then I'll pick which one is. I think so. One would be they make the beam for the structural buildings. So I'll go in there and experiment there. So I'll work in there for as long as I have off rugby, and then get the experience. And then so I did
So
a
good.
whole lot of different jobs to find what worked for me.
Yeah.
None was business. So it was all everything else but business.
Yeah.
And then now I'm in business.
Yeah.
So this opportunity, I guess, when you put it into faith, it just came up,
Oh, and
and
so
never been in this space.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So working as a business development manager, and how do you pronounce the name again?
Or your next.
Oenix. I didn't want to butcher it. Working as a business development manager for Oenix, what you meet a lot of people. That's why you always Steve's on the go,
Oh,
and you learn a lot of stories too. And I was fortunate enough to be in a role at Amultai where I got to meet a lot of businesses. And given the current climate and the bounce back from COVID, what has been some of the stories, or what are some of the things you're hearing on the ground around businesses and what are they facing?
yeah, definitely on the ground is it's tough. From COVID to, getting New Zealand back on track, um, it's definitely impact a lot on our, especially the Pacifica Māori businesses. So everyone's taking it tough, in terms of the groundwork. But one thing I'm always being the positive and always, there's always a way. It's just how we see it, how we think about it.
Onto
Yep.
anything, just like what your
Yeah.
rugby,
It's like, what can we adjust? And in rugby, I'll bring rugby right now is like, it's a tough game.
Mm.
It's you're 20 points down.
Yeah.
You got to adjust the game plan. Are we going to kick long? Are we going to play short? Are we gonna just save our energy? Or, so right now it's kind of like forces everyone to get out, network, get out, build relationship, to cut their costs down. So it's adjusting those game plan according to the season. So
It's so good, bro. And you touched on relationship. How do you go about building trust and rapport? Because that's like in business, right? And you would know this is business is all about people and creating those relationships. How do you go about creating those relationships? What are some of the things that you do to create that rapport?
just pretty much how you are with your boys, how you are with your family is exactly the same in business. Uh, you don't have to, I guess, be different. You just have to be genuine about how,
You've seen,
yeah. But most importantly, have uh, the build that trust. That whatever you say,
you
you're
do.
gonna back it up. Because if you don't, that bridge is going down real quick. So yeah, it back up whatever you say with action. Yeah, that's the most important thing for me, especially building relationship.
There's a term that I like to use when defining relationships. It's called like social currency. The currency you build with people, and by building trust, you increase the value of that currency. And when you increase the value of that currency, you're able to exchange the social currency with other people.
Yeah,
And so I feel like that's a key part of business, right?
yeah.
You know, doing what you say you're going to do and doing it with purpose and doing, I think, as Pacific people as well, we're overachievers as well. And so we like to do things, like we don't just do things half, like just do what we do, go above and beyond. And I think that's a really important aspect, and our superpower in business is um, that trust and relationship and building that social currency.
Yeah.
Right, I wanted to ask another question around your career. Well, how do you keep learning and staying motivated in your role?
One thing that pushes me to do that is I don't know if this is a bit of a out the gate one, but I picture myself
Yep.
when I'm lying in my most people call deathbed,
Yeah.
and
That is out the gate. Like,
yeah,
carry on.
and I ask myself a question: is would you be happy when you're lying there
Yeah.
that you've done all the things that you want to do?
Yeah,
So
that's deep. Bro.
yeah, when I go that far, it actually drives me to go every day. I have that in the back of my head
Yeah.
because then it pushes me to get stuff done, to work towards something. So then when I get to that space, whether it's tomorrow, next week,
'Cause you never
next
know,
year,
eh?
yeah,
You never know.
when it
Really,
comes, it comes. But you just gotta. It might come, and I'm halfway through my mission. But as long as you know in yourself, I know that I was doing it, I would be like, yeah, I'm happy when I'm lying there. So yeah, definitely. And I heard that off a story that it said if you were lying in your deathbed and you had all the things that you didn't do in
Yeah.
spiritual form or human form standing around
Yeah.
your bed,
Yeah.
how many would be standing there?
Yeah.
So then I thought, would I be happy
Mm.
lying there and go, what if? I don't want to what if. I just want to relive the memory. So my mom said, live your life, live a good life so you can relive it twice.
Oh,
So live your life how you want to live it. So when you're lying there, whether it's photos, whether it's your grandkids talking to you about
good.
memories,
Yeah.
because when you're lying there when you're old, I'm fast tracking.
Mhm.
Um, it actually makes you at peace
Yeah.
when you're reliving the memories. You know, you
Good line. That's
look at someone.
good wisdom from
Yeah. Oh, right. Oh, that woman. I talk about my dad a lot, but that woman gave me all the wisdom.
yeah.
That she's been my my idol. He hated rugby, so that's why she was kind of absent in the rugby space. But yeah, I learned everything from her. Yeah,
Yeah. But as we draw towards the end of our podcast, looking back, what's a moment you're most proud of?
looking back,
Mm.
there's been a lot of moments I've been proud of, but one I think I'm not sure if it's because recent, but my daughter,
Yeah.
welcoming my daughter
Wow.
last week has been, well, pretty much top the
Yeah.
list.
Of course.
It's something that I really, I think I grew up looking after my siblings, my little sister, and then I had the I guess the dream or hope that I'll have,
Going
you
fair.
know, my own, and to hear her, you know, cry, and
Mm.
then now she's at home with mum, with my wife, you know, it's definitely top of the list.
Yeah.
Moment. It's a different feeling.
I was just gonna ask,
Like,
what was that feeling when you? Because I'm father of three, or for you as a first time father, what was that feeling for you when you were our baby for the first time?
it's a feeling that everyone that I talk to that have had kids, I go, "What's it like?" They go, "They're stuck because they can't describe."
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Oh, why they're stuck?"
Yeah. Yeah.
So then, you know, I got asked that question this morning, and I was like, "The same."
Yeah.
You know, it's everyone takes it different.
Yeah.
Everyone, it's like a feeling of you,
Endless love.
yeah,
Endless love.
yeah, and then everything you got your breath cut for a little bit
Yeah.
to give to your form, your next, you know, your kids. So it's kind of that feeling of everything stopped while you're looking at, you know. So yeah, it was
It's making
definitely
me a bit emotional, yeah, thinking about my firstborn, and I remember, um, when my firstborn baby was born, and, um, just you look at your daughter, and you look at her, and you're like, "Man, nothing there's nothing in the world that, that will happen that I won't do to help you, so like just the
Yeah.
precious life, and I love being there. Kids are a blessing, and I think I'm excited for you in this new journey to finish the year strong. But man, you're gonna have an awesome month off. I think it's better that it's summer.
Oh,
I know for the
to be honest, I'm not a summer person. So I think my daughter takes after me.
yeah.
That she's
Tell you what, how many years were your questions?
oh, bro, literally, I went from there to Christchurch. The whole thing changed. The system, yeah, the whole system changed, and now I prefer to be in winter.
Yeah,
I went down to Queenstown. I was walking around in singlets, and shorts. So I'm used to the cold. And I think my daughter is definitely taking after that.
yeah. Very cool. Bro, we appreciate your time today. I got one last question for you, and it's a deep one, and you kind of touched on it too. What's a legacy do you hope to create for your work and your journey? What's a legacy?
Legacy for me is do whatever I can to make an impact on this world. So for me is whatever my mission, whatever my purpose, execute that before my time's up. So everyone has a purpose and a mission. You just got to do your part, and that's my legacy.
Have you found your purpose and mission yet?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
my purpose is pretty much what I'm doing now. Just help people.
yeah,
Um, and I guess for me, it's lead them into a different what I call playground.
yeah.
So
That's so good, bro. Because I feel like I just as we're finishing off here, like I feel like a lot of lost people, or if you're feeling lost, look within, like find what your purpose is, and then that kind of gives you your or your compass on your direction, your north star, right? I feel like sometimes when you're in limbo and you don't know what you're doing in your life, it's because you don't know what you're working towards,
that's it.
and I think that's where faith and your where when you become more in tune with your faith and aligned with God, God can put that in front of you.
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel blessed that I've been able to um, learn a bit about myself and my identity, but also about my faith, which kind of has guided me and I guess kind of defined my purpose. And similar to you, to serve others, to make a difference on this earth. And I guess that's why we are having the RTS podcast. This is actually, I said, the reason why I started the podcast is I was sitting in church um, in July, and the sermon was about relationships, and I was like, man, I know a lot of people. I have a lot of I got friends, I have acquaintances, but I don't people. So I feel like I'm not hanging around the people with the same kind of. They're not like minded, like doing business and doing whatnot. And God dropped the impression in my head and said, "Well, do a podcast and shit. Go preach subtly about me, like, just go as yourself and come bold and yeah, use this as a place to glorify his name." And so I've been fortunate enough that the conversations I've been having already, you're the 10th person on our
That's
podcast, bro,
cool.
that the conversations about faith have come through
Yeah,
naturally.
yeah.
And so I really appreciate about how you're learning today, bro, and what you've shared today. But awesome, bro. I really liked what you said about what motivates you, and like
Yeah.
realizing that I guess at the end of it, it's like life's too short
Yep.
to mope around, and you got to think about if you were at your deathbed, what would you be happy with yourself? And I think you've shared a lot today. But Steve, bro, appreciate your time today. I know you're a busy man. Let's finish the year strong and enjoy yourself, your new family.
Oh, thank you very
Steve,
much. Appreciate it. Thank you for having
beautiful.
me.